I have a question. Why is it that every doctor tells us that fruits and vegetables are the road to weight loss? And yet, when we look at the doctors and the nutritionists, they're all overweight. 10 years ago, I believed that fruits and vegetables were healthy. I would force myself to eat them whenever I was trying to lose weight or just all around be a healthier person. And I did that because, of course, we're told that fruits and vegetables are healthier than even red meat. We're allowed to have fish, but most other meats and poultry are frowned upon because there's so much fat and all the things. So, when 8 years ago I started a keto diet, I was afraid that I was throwing my health in the garbage just to heal my hip. I jumped into doing keto with the belief that there's no way that my health was going to survive because it was completely against everything that I had ever been told about good health, right? I'm eating more fat, I'm taking out all the grains. It didn't make any sense alongside our typical information about weight loss, right? We snack on carrots, our suppers are ancient grains, we start our days with rolled oats. All the while, our body is gaining weight, inflamed, and slowly deteriorating. Whoops. So, do we need fruits and vegetables for fiber and nutrients? Apparently not. Dr. Baker has repeatedly stated that muscle meat, has all the nutrients that we need. So, if you're like me and you can't do organ meats because, well, for me it's iron problems. I have thalassemia, so organ meats don't work for me. But maybe for you it's the taste. I've met many people that they just can't stand the taste of organ meats. You can breathe easier because you don't actually need to eat them. Dr. Baker has pointed out that the micronutrients that we're looking for are also found in the muscle meat. So, what about our energy levels, right? I don't want to crash this afternoon. One of the most amazing things that I learned through my health journey is that our body functions best running on ketones. Dr. Bickman pointed out that babies are born in a ketogenic state and that is the healthiest, most natural state for the human body, which means that we can rest easy in that state. So, why do we keep confusing sugar and carbohydrates, right? Like we need the fiber to slow down the absorption of sugar and help with like bathrooming and stuff, right? That has to be a true thing because everybody talks about it. Do we even hear the problem in that question? We've been tricked into thinking that the enemy is our friend. Carbohydrates and sugars are two words for the same stuff. They are interchangeable in the body. Fiber breaks down into carbohydrates, and therefore fiber is sugar because the body can break it down. And yes, even though they keep talking about this indigestible sugar, many doctors, including Dr. Berry, has talked about the fact that your body can actually break down, and Dr. Eckberg did too, your body can break down a good amount of the fiber that they tell us that it can't, because not all fiber is indestructible to our body. If we eat the sugar, which includes fiber, if we eat it, we live the consequences of having eaten it. There's no free passes or ways around it. Now, I had a hard time accepting that I'd been mindlessly self-soothing with food, but it made sense, right? If your entire life you'd been drinking the same water that everybody else in your town was drinking, you'd be shocked when you moved to another town and learned that you'd been drinking wine. You'd be even more shocked when you realized that you couldn't just stop drinking it. that you were actually dependent on the water that you thought you were drinking because it wasn't water. Have you ever had a moment where you learned something and realized you couldn't unlearn it? When I realized I was dependent on carbs, that I was never in control, that the weight gain and pain came from the healthy food, I was confused, first of all. My brain had been pushing me to eat sugar. I was confused. But then it made sense when I watched Dr. Fung's video and he explained that when we eat high sugar diets, our ghrelin and leptin are not balanced anymore, right? And therefore, we are constantly hungry. My body wasn't just fat. I was eating all the right foods, right? All the stuff that they were telling me to eat and triggering my body to be overweight. And my keto diet had stopped the flow of sugar to my brain that was causing all the chasing and it shoved me straight into withdrawal. Yeah, you're probably wondering, how long does withdrawal last? For me, it was 3 days. So that's not so bad, right? If you consider that I traded 3 days of not liking what was going on for feeling better. And I know 3 days seems like a long time for some people, but I want to just point out that I had had joint pain for 23 years. I had been obese on and off for 10 years by that point. 3 days of nausea, headaches, achy body, and chills to get my life back was well worth it. Well worth it. I wouldn't have changed or traded that for anything at all. Like there was no trading that. How are we going to relax, calm down, deal with crying children or annoying spouses if we don't have our precious junk food? Society expects us to take care of the home, the children, and work with a smile on our face the whole time, right? Men are supposed to know all the answers, stay calm under pressure, and make sure their family wants for nothing, right? They must make more than enough money so that right? Life is not perfect. We're supposed to feel sad sometimes, angry, lonely, and scared sometimes. Avoiding our feelings is actually impossible. When we are trying to avoid our feelings, we end up not just overeating, Wellness Warrior, the amounts of chocolate that I used to consume, because, because chocolate used to make me feel good, right? But it made me feel good to the point where I was overeating it to the point that the amount of, like, the weight was mounting because the stress in my life was kids, was relationships, was work. I had a very stressful job at the time, working for the government. I was under so much stress all the time. So, of course, if I want the chocolate to make me feel good and that to work, the amounts that I needed to eat. How do we know that we won't fail at this diet like we did at all the other diets that we've tried before? This isn't a diet. So, when a drinker goes to rehab, they aren't going on a diet. They are making a commitment to stop drinking something that has been ruining their lives, right? I stopped eating processed foods because I learned that they were high in carbohydrates, high in sugar. I stopped eating fruit because, well, first of all, I hated fruit, so I didn't eat it often, but I stopped forcing myself to eat fruit because I learned that it's high in fructose. I stopped eating vegetables because I learned that they are full of toxins like oxalates and other things. I'm not on a diet. I've decided to only eat healthy food. This is a mindset shift, Wellness Warrior. Now, I realize that I can do what helps my body to feel good and allow me to do my activities, or I can eat the fun food, feel horrible, be overweight, and help make companies billions of dollars. When I learned that companies actually came together back in the 70s to dream up the calories in, calories out lie that has every woman on the planet paying more attention to calories than carbohydrates, I wanted to tell everyone. Like every person that I knew, I wanted them to know about it. I was in their face about it. I wanted to save my family and my friends. I created this channel. I wouldn't shut up about it. I was talking about this 24/7 nonstop. And the people I loved the most said that I was going to end up in the hospital. They said that I couldn't do this for long or I'd regret it. It has been 8 years and I'm still doing it, right? Now, I have family members who ask me when I go to parties and events, if I'm still not eating food. Wellness warrior. Me not eating rice and dumplings and chocolate is me not eating food. Do we see how controlled we are? I'm eating meat, fish, poultry, and eggs, but somehow I'm not eating food. Now, some of them are limping, some of them gained weight, some complaining about their health and all the medications that they're on. But they're asking me if I'm still not eating food. How do we manage the family gatherings surrounded by the chocolate and the cakes and all the fun stuff, right? We can create a safe space in our homes where the temptation just doesn't exist. In this version of our world that we're currently living in, ever since that 2020, 2019 thing that happened, in this version, we are home a lot. But as soon as we need to venture out of our house and be social, go to a family event, a work event, something, the junk food is back. And Wellness Warrior, if you're tempted by the garbage when you step out of your house, you still have work to do on your mindset. Most of you have no issue going out to a party and not drinking, right? If you don't feel like it, you don't drink. And it's easy. Most of you have no issue going out to a party and not smoking. If you don't feel like it, you don't smoke. And or maybe you just never started smoking. You didn't take up that habit and you just don't do it. The garbage around you will get to be at that same level if you look at it differently. It is a substance that excites your brain just like drinking and smoking, but they don't tempt us, right? Drinking and smoking don't tempt us. Why don't they tempt us? It's understanding that those social events, are we supposed to just sit there? Are we supposed to just not eat anything? That's the question we have. And I want you to understand that those things don't tempt us because we've let them get to the point where we've taken them out of our life enough that when we see them again, they don't matter. I've gone to many social events and just had coffee, right? And I didn't feel weird because I spent the time that I was at the social event, even if it was a supper. I've gone out to restaurants at suppers and only had coffee, at lunches also, and only had coffee. And I spent my time talking to the people. Yes, they were eating. They were fine with the food on the table. I wasn't. So I spent my time talking in the conversations, sipping on my coffee. Why? Because I was talking to people that I wanted to talk to. I was there for the people. They know how I eat and invited me because they wanted to see me. They didn't want to see me eat. They wanted to be in my presence and talk to me about what's going on in their life and catch me up. And I caught them up in my life. And I was 1000% fine with not eating what they were eating. And that's what's great about keto and carnivore. You aren't motivated by food anymore. The unhealthy pizza isn't a temptation. Chocolate isn't a temptation for me anymore, Wellness Warrior. Can I just pause and think about that? Chocolate used to be my kryptonite. Chocolate used to be the thing that got me all the time. And now I can go into any store. I can go into a Laura Secord. I can go into any of the fancy chocolate places and see the chocolate and not care. It's not food to me. It's just junk. One thing that I've realized, when you eat healthy food tastes spectacular. Not just good, not just all right. It's taste. If this, when, if the food tastes amazing, why do some people fail at keto and carnivore? Like, to understand why that is, I need to tell you guys a little story. This happened in my life, right? When my daughter was about 10 years old, she came home from school and told me that her teacher told them that they shouldn't be drinking so much soda and all this stuff, that they need to drink more water because soda was bad for them. And she came in the house and she was all excited. She's going to drink more water. I totally agreed with the teacher, right? This was absolutely right. Her soda consumption dropped by 80%. And juice too. Like, she was drinking water most of the time with lunch, with supper. So the problem was the tap water in our neighborhood, it gave me pause. I mean, I live in a good neighborhood, but just drinking that much tap water, I wasn't happy with that. So I invested in a Berkey water system. $800 later, we had the best tasting water that I had ever had. And I was not a big water drinker. Now, obviously, she was drinking soda because I was drinking soda. But the water just tasted better. So I started drinking water. My consumption of soda did not decrease the amount that she did until we fast forward to when I went keto. No longer drinking soda, no longer drinking juice or milk or, right? I was all water. And guess what I became? I became a water snob. I still am today. Water from the faucet tastes disgusting, gross, cannot, undrinkable to me. How did that happen? When we stop eating garbage, after a few months, we have a mouth that's full of what? New taste buds. Those taste buds were never trained on sweet. I don't try to eat moderately. I don't try to negotiate with myself about how much junk is okay. I do a garbage check. If it's food, meat, fish, poultry, and eggs, I eat it. If it isn't food, I don't eat it. Now, you might include some low carb vegetables in your list if you do keto. So I'm going to put that out there. But the goal is to know in advance what vegetables are low in carb and on your list, right? You need to know that in advance. If we eat a cookie, have we ruined everything? Do we have to start over if we eat a cookie? There isn't any starting over because this isn't a game, right? Life is not a game. It's not, you're not playing at being healthy. The diet industry has us fooled into believing that we can just take a break from our diet. That isn't true. I want you to think about it like this. If you had your rugs cleaned, right? You had a shampoo company come in and they just made all your rugs beautiful and clean, but your kids didn't know. And they get home with the dog who has rolled in the mud, and they just let him in the house and he runs all through the house and he just puts mud on those freshly cleaned rugs. Are you attempting to start over? Right? Well, you can't. You can't start over. Like the company came, they cleaned, they left. What you need to do is clean up the mess, right? If you don't clean up the mess that the dog made, the dog is gonna scrub that mess. Like everybody's just gonna keep walking. It's gonna scrub that. You're gonna ruin your rugs. Now, are you gonna do as good a job as the professional company you hired did? Not likely, but you're still gonna do better than leaving the mud on the rugs to ruin it. If you eat unhealthy food, your body deals with the unhealthy food you ate. This is why the garbage check is so important. Yeah, mistakes happen. When it comes to feeding ourselves, we don't make mistakes, right? We make decisions. It's our job to decide what we eat. If we don't decide, companies are going to be waiting to make a horrible decision for us, Wellness Warrior. They want us not taking control of our life. They want us not deciding what's healthy and unhealthy for us, because then they can come in and tell us that the ancient grains are more beneficial to our body than meat, fish, poultry, and eggs. Their decisions look fun, but actually are all about putting more money in their pockets. Now, your task for the next 30 days is to create a meal plan that is based around meat, fish, poultry, and eggs. Make a list of low sugar vegetables that you would be willing to eat. Eat only one ingredient foods. And I suggest that you journal about your experience. It is very likely that 12 months from now, when you're feeling much better, when your body's working amazing, when you're loving life, you won't remember all the positive outcomes that you got from something as simple as eating real food. When you're having a hard day, when you have a party that's coming up that you want to go to, when the holidays roll around and right, you read all about the things that healed you. So if you take the time to read all about the things that healed you, right? All the things you healed with the healthy food. Because I want you to, well, just trust me. It helps keep you on track, man. Looking back and seeing what you fixed, it helps you to stay on track. Now, if you're new to keto and carnivore, this is the video, the one I linked in the description. It's going to help you to know what to do next. So, because if you're new, you want to know if you're going to do keto or carnivore long term, watch that video. It's going to help you to understand how to do this and stick with it. And now, I want to go talk to you about, I want to get to your questions and your comments. So I'm going to change positions here. Hello, Wellness Warriors. What questions, comments, ideas do you have for me today? This is your opportunity, Wellness Warrior. If you want me to be able to answer your questions, please put them in the comments right now. Why can't I see my comments? That is interesting. There we go. So first I want to say hi, Pat. Nice to have you in here. Very happy that you made it to the live stream. This was a little bit different. I would like to know how you guys like me putting some ideas on the screen to help us to kind of keep track of what I was doing today. And like I said, if you want me to answer your questions, this is the opportunity. Put your questions in and I will try to get through them all before we end today. So you said, oh, let me just adjust myself here a little bit. You said, good morning. Good morning, Wellness Warriors. I wish you all an excellent new year. Thank you, Pat. I definitely wish everyone also a happy new year. And yeah, we want to get those gains and get our health in the right place. Um, I like the new setup. Lighting looks very natural. Thank you very much. And what is this? Is this a new t-shirt? Pat, you're so very funny. Yeah, Wellness Warriors, we have a new t-shirt. If you were looking for a way, let me just do this. If you were looking for a way to support the channel, that's an easy thing you can do. Pick up a t-shirt. I really hope that you like them. They're not linked below yet, but they should be. If you go to our website, you can get them straight from the store over there. So hello, John. Nice to have you here. And we have a super chat. Thank you very much. Abdi Karani, I think that's how you say that. Thank you for your great content. It's been very helpful. I'm 4 weeks carnivore with R72 fast. Oh, so like a 72-hour fast. Okay. Do you recommend ditching spices completely on meat? So, so you said you're 4 weeks carnivore. Yeah, I have completely removed spices from my diet because Dr. Chafee helped me to understand that the spices are actually the most potent part of the plant, which when you think about it, that means it's the defenses of the plant. So capsaicin is one of the things that plants put in their fruit and in their right. They're trying to stop animals from eating it and bugs from eating it. I think originally it was probably they're more focused on bugs. Clearly, we are much bigger than bugs, so it takes more of the toxin to have a problem for us. But it doesn't change the fact that it's a toxin, right? So Dr. Chafee pointed out that we just recklessly allow ourselves to eat these things without realizing that they are having an impact on our body. The same way that sugar has an impact on our body, these these toxins, so the what makes our food taste fun to us is also what the plant is trying to use to stop us from eating it. So yes, I completely removed those things from my diet. And then we have Bella Food Forest. Howdy. I agree with you. I talk about this all the time to anyone who will listen. Spread the word. I definitely will keep talking about this as much as I can talk about it. I'm going to keep talking about it, Bella. So, because I definitely want every person to know that healthy food is what we're supposed to be eating. And if we do the simple thing, and it's such a simple thing to do, of allowing ourselves to eat real food so that our mouth gets back to eating what it's always ate, right? Like gets back to feeling appropriately, um, like it tastes food in an amazing way. So I'll share this with you. My like I said about the water, but I had another experience with fruit. So before I taken fruit out of my life, before I learned about the fructose issue, is Dr. Berry helped me to understand that fructose glycates in the body 7 times as much as um 7 times as much as glucose does. So glycation is like damaging to proteins, right? Obviously, fruc fructose is more damaging if it does 7 times the glycation that glucose does. So that helped me to really put the fruit down like completely, like not even strawberries and all, because where the berries are supposed to be healthier than they're all the same. Wellness Warrior, this is the part that we need to understand. Like one isn't healthier than the other because the fructose is less. Fructose is 7 times glycating, so 1 gram of fructose is damaging as if you had 7 grams of glucose, which is just blows my mind, because when you start looking at the fact that if you have an apple, that's the average size, that's 26 grams of carbohydrate, which means 13 grams of that is fructose. Multiply that by 7, the damage, right? So it doesn't make any sense. You're already at 7 grams, which is almost a third of your total day's worth of carbohydrates for the day is fructose. But then if you times that by 7, like wow. Anyways, or sorry, I said that was 13 grams, right? So it's half, it's more than half the day's worth, more than half the day's worth. Anyways, but the reason I was bringing up the fruit is that, so I went on vacation after doing months of eating low carb and not having anything sweet, just like vegetables that were low glycemic, so they weren't sweet vegetables. Had a strawberry, and wow, like I felt like someone just grabbed my mouth from the inside. Like it was intense, it was unpleasant. It wasn't a sweet where you're going, oh, this is fun. It was a sweet that you're going, this is unpleasant. I wasn't happy to have been eating it. And I think that was the thing for me that really, it just solidified that there's no reason for fructose. And so very basically for fruit, right? Like fructose is the sweetest fruit that occurs naturally that we eat, from what I understand. And yeah, like companies love it. High fructose corn syrup, companies love it because it allows them to feed us more stuff that isn't healthy for us. And it allows them to, well, basically get away with increasing their profits because fructose is much cheaper. You know, one of the things I want everyone to understand is that a lot of what we're doing is trading our healthy meat, fish, poultry, and eggs for convenient processed foods. That's another thing that they sold back in the 70s. The convenience of these foods that mothers wouldn't be in the kitchen all day. And now today it's men and women because we both share in the cooking, right? So we're not in the kitchen all day. So we can just pop something in the oven and cooking pasta so fast. So it speeds up the amount of time that we're cooking, right? So we're not spending as much time cooking, but we don't realize that we're trading our health for this. The food that we're eating, the processed stuff like the pasta, the rice, and all these grains where they've removed so much of the fiber that we're supposed to be getting anyways, they've removed so much of it that we're just getting the part that is digestible, that is just harming our health. It's not a good trade. So that experience I had where I ate that strawberry and my mouth had completely transitioned. I didn't have the taste buds that were used to that flavor anymore, that intensity of sweetness anymore. And when I ate it, it was like, whoa. And I'm sitting there with my kids and Pat telling me that these are the most bland, unsweet strawberries that they've ever had. And I'm freaking out that they're so sweet. I can't understand what they're talking about. They actually thought that I had gotten the one good strawberry in the bunch, but luckily Pat had cut it up for me because I didn't even want it at first, but he just cut up into small pieces. So I had like, I think one strawberry cut into many pieces, and they all tasted it and said it was the same like what they had on their plate. And to me, that was driving me. Like that one little bite I took and I didn't eat any more of it. I gave it to them. I was like, I cannot eat that. What does that help us to understand, Wellness Warrior? If you give your body time, it will actually change. It will actually, your taste buds renew. And I was shocked to learn that they renew every few months. I don't know exactly how many months it is. I think it's somewhere between 3 and 6. I can't remember, but I should have looked it up before this, but I didn't think to. It blows my mind that our taste buds renew at the speed at which they do renew. So yeah, like if you want to be able to have the good health, if you want to be able to improve your body, what you need to do is focus on eating real food, meat, fish, poultry, eggs. So yeah, letting go of those spices, absolutely, I would encourage you to do that. And I know that it could be hard to let go of. You're only 4 weeks into carnivore. So my suggestion to you is you theoretically could taper it down to just like, like put half the amount that you normally put so that your mouth gets used to that, and then put half the amount of that, and so on and so on. Unless you feel confident that you could do it straight and be happy with it. I'll tell you that by the time I went carnivore, I was eating low carb for so long that removing the spices and just tasting what chicken with just salt on it tasted like, with no interference of the foolishness, the tomfoolery that we put on our meat, it tasted amazing to me. As I said, real food tastes spectacular. And we don't even know how great it is to eat just chicken with salt, just pork with salt. Just, and can you imagine if we were feeding our animals properly? I mean, I'm talking about animals, even just grocery store, regular grocery store meat that I've eaten with just salt. Tastes amazing to me. When I get it from the farm and from the butcher shop, I should say, tastes even better. Now, from what they've told me, they try to source the best quality meat at the butcher shop that I go to. So I don't know. It seems to taste better to me. But at the end of the day, Wellness Warrior, it really comes down to what are you willing to do to make sure that your health is where you want it to be? And yeah, so taking the spices out, if you can do it one shot, I would taste some meat that just was cooked like that. Just one meal. If you don't like it, then you can go back and do half the amount and then a quarter of the amount. And then when you get down to a part where you're like, well, it doesn't make sense that I'm still doing this, and then you can go over. But I definitely encourage you to the uh, remove the spices. Bella Food Forest. Hello, nice to have you here today. By the way, my picture was the old me. Work in the supermarket. Oh, did I skip something? Yeah, no, okay. Worked. Okay, worked in a supermarket for almost 40 years, and now I really look at the customers and their sharp shopping carts. I try my best to have a bit of empathy for the people that I see eating healthy. I'm sorry, unhealthy. I have a bit of empathy for them because they don't know. So up until I found out what I found out, and like I said, you can't, once you learn something, at least for me anyways, once I learn something, I can't unlearn. I'm not one of those people that can have a piece of information and just pretend like it doesn't matter because I want to eat the chocolate. I'm not able to do that. Every single thing that I learn sticks in my head. It sticks in my head, and I'm therefore unable to just pretend like this thing isn't having an impact, whether I like that impact or not. So when I see people, and well, of course I go grocery shopping, I see their grocery carts, and I have empathy because when I was, so if I could just go back a mere 8 years ago, because that would be January 2018, a mere 8 years ago, I had no clue that the healthy Cheerios in my cart wasn't healthy. I had no clue that the vegetables and the fruit that I was buying for my daughter, the rice that I was buying for her, the pasta, right? I always gave my daughter food for lunch. So she had, whether it was pizza, sometimes I gave her pizza, that's food, right? I would buy the healthy grain pizza crusts, right? I, and I would give her rice with some meat for lunch. I would give her pasta with like, spaghetti sauce, like with meat. There was always meat in it. That was one thing I did do. But I had no idea that the things I thought were healthy foods weren't healthy. So I can't fault the people in the grocery stores for their carts being full of things that are just garbage because they don't know. They think those things are healthy because all the marketing, they're really good at getting us with the marketing, Wellness Warrior. All the marketing says that these are the healthiest things that they could be eating, right? They think they're doing a good thing for themselves. They think that their lives are going to be better eating this way. So I feel bad for them, but I try my best not to judge because I know I was there just a mere 8 years ago. What's your take on insulin resistance? I'm really getting frustrated with it. Since I've had to slow down on fasting, my blood sugars are going higher. Started taking insulin shots again. Okay. My problem is fasting is not necessarily a cure for insulin resistance. So here's my take on insulin resistance. This is my take based on what I've learned from Dr. Ekberg, Dr. Fung, um, Dr. Berry, Dr. Bickman. I would even say Dr. Westman. Like they've all at different points talked about insulin. Oh, the one that taught me the most. Oh, I don't have my list in front of me today of the doctors that educated me. I hope it comes back to me. But he was the one that educated me the most because he pointed out that we can be insulin resistant in the blood. We can be insulin resistant in tissues. So, for example, your ovaries would give you the outcome of PCOS. If you're and you could be insulin resistant in your eyes and have eye trouble. So he really focused me on understanding that wherever the damage, so the insulin resistance, the cells are living, that shows itself in the kind of outcome you'll have. I wish I could remember. Lustig, Dr. Lustig taught me that. And so my take now on insulin resistance is that it's about how much carbohydrate is coming in and how much damage your body has. So some people who start eating healthy earlier in life, first of all, or it could also be that throughout the trajectory of your life, you might not have been having as much carbohydrate. So let's say like my daughter, for example, grew up in when she was 0 to 4, she wasn't allowed any junk food. So, and I'm saying junk food, I'm talking about the candies, cookies, but like all the actual junk food, not the stuff that gets labeled under food. She wasn't allowed to have that. So all the high sugar stuff she didn't have, but she had the regular high sugar stuff. I think that that helped her to have less damage, but in the long run, she will still have damage because she still is eating normal carbohydrates. And after 4, she was allowed to have soda and ice cream and all the things, right? After age of 4. But depending on the household you grew up in, like for example, myself, I grew up in a household where, like, although we were allowed to have junk food, my parents didn't buy it all the time. So like my mom would go shopping and she would buy food. Again, you're still talking high carbohydrate stuff, pasta, and rice was a staple in my house. But the cookies and the chocolate and the ice cream and the candies were not. So what would happen is that we'd get, maybe my mom would buy a bag of cookies or a box of cookies and a bag of chips to last us the entire week. Right. And it's like, and her statement was, when you finish it, you finish it. Right. So what did it do? It caused us to take real servings, right? We would take 2 cookies instead of taking 7 because when we finish it, we finish it. Same thing with the chips. We would take a small bag of chips instead of a gigantic bag. So I do feel, and I want to contrast that to my cousins' homes where their parents didn't have those kind of rules. And so like we would go there and there would be chips and cookies and like everything was there all the time on repeat. And I learned now as an adult, it was because their parents ate them too. Where my parents, like, they didn't really eat much of that stuff. So they didn't care. It's like they ate food. So that difference in mentality, it makes a difference, right? So my cousins at their house, God, we had access to we loved going there. We loved going there because we could just eat and eat and eat, right? And their parents didn't have any rules about that. Which probably why my parents didn't allow us to go there and like sleep over and stuff like that much because they knew we would just be eating junk. So, I mean, I give my parents a lot of credit for trying to make sure that we were the healthiest we could possibly be, and I appreciate that. But yeah, so it does mean that we didn't, so the amount What's my point? The amount of damage you have is going to determine how insulin resistant you are. But then when you start eating better, the amount of insulin resistance you start with is going to determine what level of carbohydrate your body reacts at. In my opinion, this is what I figured out with myself. For example, by the time I started my keto lifestyle, so even though I was delayed in getting like out of control with chocolate, for example, one of the things I did get out of control with, I was delayed in getting out of control with pizza, another thing that I got out of control with. So even though I was delayed in these things, it doesn't change the fact that when I started my keto lifestyle, I was already so inflamed that I had lived 23 years of joint pain. I was already obese. And the inflammation in my hip had doctors already talking to me about, well, it's not quite bad enough for surgery yet, which means that that's what they thought was going to be my eventual answer. When I started keto and I got down to 20, I felt amazing. But then I didn't. So what I actually figured out was that my number to be pain-free was actually 18, not 20. So John, long way of saying that maybe what you're learning is that whatever carbohydrates are still in your diet, and it might not just be carbohydrates. I'll talk about this. I'm just going to start here with carbohydrates. I have another point to make. Whatever carbohydrates are still in your diet might be too high, and so therefore your body is still insulin resistant. Possibility one. Possibility two, seed oils. Dr. Barry helped me to understand in a video he made where he said, seed oils, well, what he said was, you can give away the processed food in your house because food is better than no food, right? So bad food is better than no food. So give it to a food bank or whatever. People who don't have money, that'll be helpful to them. But he said, throw the seed oil away. Do not give it away because that would be poisoning people. That's what he said. And that statement, that really stuck with me. Throw the seed oil away. So another thing that might be messing with you, John, I found out that seed oils actually raise insulin resistance. I think it was Dr. Ekberg that talked about that. And there was Dr. Peltz also talked about that seed oils actually contribute to insulin resistance. So for those of us who do the burgers from the burger joints, when you're in a pinch and you just want to have some, burger patties, you just go and you order a bunch of burger patties at the burger joints that fry their patties. They are frying their patties in seed oils, right? You need to be extremely careful. I think sometimes we don't allow ourselves to really fully understand that a little bit of a toxin when our body is struggling is not a little bit, it's a huge problem, right? Like, just, I want you to think about that for a second. If you had a cut, I have a cut today actually, so I can use myself as the example. I have a cut on my hand. And although normally I could slam my hand down on the desk and it would have no problem, if I did that today, oh, that would hurt. It might even break my cut open again. That wouldn't be pleasant for me. And normally I could do that. And right, because it's just a little pressure, not when I have a problem. So a little bit of a toxin coming in when your entire internals are inflamed and screaming and needing your assistance. Wellness warrior, I need you to understand that that's a huge deal, not just a big deal. It's a huge deal, right? And then I think that the last thing that I want to say is that, and I got this from Bart Kay, the professor there. He's a research scientist. Bart Kay often says that insulin resistance is a construct. And the reason that he keeps formulating it that way is he said that whatever your amount of insulin your body deploys is the right amount. So I do agree with him, right? Like if my body didn't deploy the amount of insulin it deployed when I was eating stupidity, then I wouldn't be sitting here. And we know that because people who have type 1 diabetes, their body cannot deploy the insulin, and that's a huge health risk for them. So the other thing to think about is it's not about how much insulin that you have floating through your body in a right versus wrong kind of way. Like you're saying your like your blood sugars are higher and your insulin is high, so you need more insulin, and right. And so like, yeah, you clearly are insulin resistant, but it's more about what's happening that my body isn't able to make enough insulin to bring it down so that my blood sugar is at the right amount. And so what scares me is that people can become type 1 diabetic. And we think that giving ourselves insulin is helping that, but the problem is that if I'm constantly giving myself insulin, how do I know if I've accidentally become a type 1 diabetic, right? Like, how do I know that maybe so I think the more important thing to do is bring down the carbohydrates that you're still eating. And if you're carnivore, I'm asking you to look at spices, because spices do have carbohydrates. And if my body is that inflamed and I'm that insulin resistant, then even the spices will cause me to struggle with my blood sugar levels. Right? This is my take on it from listening to all the different doctors that I've listened to and Professor K. It just, this makes sense to me. So I hope that that helps you to see what I see. And if you are keto, I would just bring those carbs down and see like what's the level I can be at where my body functions well, and I'm assuming you're using a continuous glucose, or maybe you're doing a finger stick, whatever it is, that my glucose numbers are normal. And don't forget, if you're eating vegetation, you're only getting the reading for the glucose. The fructose is in there not being measured. That's another thing that I learned. I think, who taught me that? I wish I could remember who taught me that. But like, yeah, like it is a glucose monitor, which is like, it's again, it's in the title. It's like, I feel like sometimes we don't even realize we're saying the thing, junk food. It's in the name, and we don't realize that, yeah, there's a meaning behind that. The glucose monitor is only monitoring glucose. It's not telling you how much fructose is in your blood. It's not telling you how much galactose, which is the sugar in milk, right? Galactose. It's not telling you how much galactose is in there. So yeah, like we need to understand this stuff if we have any chance to get our health under control. Let's see. So hello. Oh, I already said hi. Oh no, Karen Wade. Hello. It took a high amount of the lower glycemic berries to satisfy my cravings. Much easier not to chase cravings. Oh, that's a good point. Not to scout out the grocery deals because they are so expensive. Animal protein wins. So one thing I will say, Karen, and thank you for making that statement, because I want to just, again, it's in what we're saying. It took so many of the berries to satisfy my cravings, which is another thing that I want to say when it comes to berries, when it comes to keto snacks, when it comes to any of the things that we eat to satisfy that sweet tooth, right? Like conventional wisdom, diet world tells us that, well, just eat a little bit of the stuff so that you satisfy your sweet tooth and then get on with your day. But the problem is that yeah, you're trying to satisfy that sweet tooth. You eat one berry, or maybe you even take a serving, but then the problem is you go get another serving and you go get another serving. And that used to happen to me. So I I I had a small stint of making peanut butter cookies, right? Keto friendly, very few ingredients, no, right? I made a small stint of doing that, and I realized that I wouldn't have just two cookies. I would have like five, six, seven, right? Like they wouldn't last me the amount of time that they were supposed to last me. Stop making them. Okay, fast forward, I was eating cashews, right? And at some point, I started to realize that the cashews were not lasting the amount of time they were supposed to last. Start off with one serving, and next thing you know, I've had like a cup of cashews. It's like, what the hell is happening? And really, what it comes down to is that that old mindset allows us to do the bad behavior that keeps companies in business, right? Because I cannot moderate something that I don't control. I don't control my cravings. So how can I possibly moderate it? And it's just, I mean, again, when you say it out, when you walk it through out loud and just say it, we see it clearly. It makes total sense. There's no way you can moderate something that you don't have control over, right? Can you imagine? It's like going out in the rain and saying, I'm only going to allow this shoulder of myself to get wet, and the rest of me is going to be dry, but I'm standing in the middle of the rain with nothing above me at all. No rain jacket, nothing. No, I can't moderate that, right? I'm going to get wet everywhere. So you're right. Animal protein is the absolute clearest win there that we could ever have. Um, my fast team, oh sorry, my fasting blood sugar in the morning are hitting 200 to 250. I'm only eating beef, sardines, butter, and minimal amounts. No 100 and or 40 grams of protein a day, zero carbs. I'm confused by what you're saying there. If you're still in the who is this? John? Okay. Oh, so okay. Oh, okay. Well, okay, John, you're um 200 to 250. I'm only eating beef, sardines. So, okay, here's where my brain goes, and you can update me, John, if you're still here. Sardines, seed oils. Most sardines are, if you get the ones that are packed in oil, are packed in seed oils. So that's my first question mark. 140 grams of protein. See, I'm not sure because you say and minimal amounts. No 100. I'm not sure what that means, John. If you could just clarify that for me, because that's a bit confusing. But like I said, my first thought are the sardines. If they're packed in oil, you can be guaranteed that that's probably, no, not even probably, you can be guaranteed that that's seed oils, number one. If you're eating, oh, wow, you just helped me remember something else, John. If you're eating canned sardines, we also need to deal with the fact that the microplastics that get into our sardines, because the inside of all tinned packaging is plastic. And now we have the other problem that plastics are estrogenic. And that what that means is when we have plastics, these microplastics in our system, they mimic our hormones. And so they can mimic estrogen, but they can mimic other hormones, I believe, if I understood correctly. The problem with that, John, is that, and for everyone who's listening, the problem with that is that these microplastics, when they like get in our system and they start like messing with our hormones, if let's say just look at estrogen for a second. If estrogen, it seems too high or too low depending on what mimicking it does to the production, because if it can connect to the receptors rather than estrogen, then your body thinks it has enough estrogen when in fact what's connected to it is not estrogen. So first of all, the cell's not going to work properly because it's not actually estrogen. But second of all, your body's not producing more estrogen because it thinks there's something there. So you might have not enough estrogen. How does that now affect the total balance of your hormones. Because remember, we live in a homeostatic system. Our body keeps levels at the right level relative to each other. So for example, when cortisol is high, insulin is supposed to be low. When insulin is high, cortisol is low. Now, if we have a scenario where cortisol should be high and insulin gets flipped on, they're fighting, right? And usually, especially if it has to do with eating, insulin will win. And so I see a lot of people who end up being anxious because, of course, they're eating a lot, but then they have stress in their lives. And so insulin and cortisol are flipping back and forth. And of course, when cortisol comes on, there's an influx of sugar. Do you see the problem that's happening here? That every time your cortisol is going to flick on, it also has an influx of sugar because historically, when cortisol is turned on, it's because we're either waking up and we need that energy to get up, or it's because we are in a problem and we need to fight something and we need that energy to use our muscles to run away or fight or whatever. So that's sugar coming into your system as well every time that flip goes on, off, on, off, on, off, right? And then, of course, so there's so much stuff here. I mean, again, you need to talk to your doctor, John. I hope you have a keto friendly doctor, but you need to talk to your doctor to really fully understand all these different nuances. And I would definitely, send a message in Dr. Barry's stream or Dr. Eckberg's stream as well. They would be able to answer these questions. I don't know if Dr. Eckberg goes live, actually. I know Dr. Barry does. Maybe even Dr. Berg's stream, I would try to, get something in there. But that's the question I have. So I don't know. I don't really understand the ending of your message. If you want to update me again, I can try to see if I can better understand it. But the other piece of the puzzle, going back to what Dr. Lehman also taught me, is that we need to get the right amount of protein, not low amounts of protein. So Dr. Fung made a lot of videos about this idea that our body isn't stupid enough to use protein for energy when there's fat and carbohydrates available. So turning it into sugar, not likely, unless like you would have to be severely, according to Dr. Fung, severely overeating carbohydrates. And he's made many videos about it. You can look it up. But so that's my first point, is that like it's making sure that for the body weight that is the healthy weight you're aiming at, making sure that you're eating enough protein to support the build of that body weight, because you were supposed to eat the amount of protein for that landing spot. So for example, with my cat here, I got it as a kitten. It's still a kitten right now. I got it as a kitten, and the instructions are to feed the kitten the amount of protein that it will need to grow into the body at its adult size. And so basically what is that telling you? That the cat will always be eating the same amount of food. So it's not like you have a kitten, you give it a small amount of food, and then when it's an adult, you give it a bit. No, the cat throughout its entire life eats the same amount of food. And that's because you need to get the right amount of protein to grow you to, or to support you to that right amount of protein, right? Which does tell us that we severely underfeed our kids, right? Because, but at the same time, we overfeed them because we're not giving them the amount of protein that they actually should be getting. But then we are rarely, so we're not giving them the amount of protein and we are often giving them more carbohydrate foolishness that isn't helping them to build healthy bodies. It's just helping them to put on weight or damaging somehow their body on the inside. So, another update from John. Father around 120 grams per day. Wow. I feel like you're typing really quickly, but I would rather you take your time and so I can read these, but father around 120, I'm not sure what that means. Been doing carnivore for 10 months, keto for 8 years. Okay, so you just transitioned over. I know it's hepatic insulin resistance. I'm so frustrated with this. Jason Fung talks about, you know, is there another update? Uh, uh, the biggest thing I'm dealing with right now is insulin resistance of the liver called hepatic insulin resistance. Okay, yeah. I mean, the thing is, John, so if you if you've already gotten that far into what's happening with you, and so my brain is kind of, I don't really know, like, I mean, obviously I know hepatic means it's like liver, obviously, but I'm not really sure how can we be certain that it's hepatic. So I don't know what all the what's the word, symptoms are to know it's hepatic versus blood versus like whatever, like I don't know. So I'm not going to speak on that. But what I'm trying to put my mind around is knowing where the insulin resistance is terrific. But I think it's much more important to know what is the threshold. So you've gone down to carnivore now. What's triggering me if I'm still being triggered? That's the question. And so you see, like when you're fasting, the benefit of fasting is that there's no food coming in. And yeah, your blood will be able to get your body will be able to get your blood back to baseline theoretically. But then as soon as you start eating, and I can't remember if you said, was it just salt or did you say 10 months? So my new question is, are you putting spices on your meats? Right? I mean, and I'm talking anything other than salt. Are you putting anything other than salt on your meat? Are you eating things that were cooked in seed oils? Those are the next two big problems that I would predict would be having a huge impact on a situation of someone who is absolutely doing carnivore and their blood sugar is continuing to have wide swings. That's the question. Now, obviously, my thought is that if you have a 200 or 250 blood sugar and you take some medication for that, which makes sense, 200 and 250 is like really high. So you take medication for that, but then you still need to be doing something to help your body to heal. So eating healthy, absolutely going to be the right thing to do. Paying attention to your blood sugar so that you adjust how much insulin you do take as your body starts to heal. But also figuring out what's the thing that's messing with your healing process. So, like I said, if it's not seed oils or spices, it could be a matter that your body is healing, but it will take time. And I definitely, I really do encourage you to reach out to like Ekberg or Barry or like somebody who goes live would probably be the ideal person to try to reach out to see what you can find out. But I also feel like the answer is always keep eating healthy. No matter what you do, keep eating healthy. So I wish I could have been more help, John, but not a doctor. So I'm telling you what I learned from the doctors. It's better to go straight to the doctor if you have a specific question like this, because, like obviously being frustrated isn't going to help you solve the problem. So let me just talk about what I can talk about because mental health is my thing. And you're gathering data. I would really log your food. And I know it seems silly to log when you're only eating meat, but maybe there's something about the kind of meat that you're eating. So I'm going to now talk about Dr. Chafee. He often talks about the fact that, in fact, cows are the safer thing to eat because cows have the ability to like process out more toxins because they have the four stomachs. And then, of course, if you take that a next step, getting grass-fed, grass-finished cows, so beef, is even better because they're only eating what they're meant to eat. Of course, in all of this, we're believing the manufacturers, right? Because unless you buy a farm and grow your own animals, we are left to have to believe the manufacturers. But I think that's the other thing for you to think about. If because you said you're eating sardines. What did you say? You said minimal amounts. Let's see. Beef, sardines, and butter. So yeah, like maybe the sardines, as I'm kind of worried about the sardines, I'll be honest with you. If you're not eating, if you're eating sardines that are tinned, if you're eating any tinned meat, by the way, Wellness Warriors, any tinned food, let me just go wider. Any tinned food has the possibility of microplastics. I hope that was helpful. M13 times 13M. Moderation means nothing. Yeah. Moderation is something that they just get us with, right? Because they tell us to do it and we think we're doing something good for ourselves and we just get stuck in the cycle of overeating all the time. So, John gave me more information. It says, I'm highly sensitive to red meat. About the only thing I'm able to eat sardines, salmon. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I really hope that the sardines and salmon that you're getting. So now the new question to me, especially like, again, fish is fine to eat, but if I'm only eating fish, the new question is, am I having some other kind of toxicity happen? Because, there's all the claims of mercury and other heavy metals in the fish that we're eating. And so, like, could that be something that's impacting your ability to, right? And it's one of these things, right? Like, why would it show itself in my blood sugar? But thank goodness it's showing you something, right? So I think I'm encouraging you, John, really to reach out to one of those keto friendly doctors and see if they will answer you. Maybe even if you can book a consult. I know that was it Dr. Bickman? There's a doctor, and now my brain is like not like I know Dr. Eid. Dr. Eid has a list where you can find keto friendly doctors in your neighborhood. There's another doctor that has one too, but the name is not coming to me. But Dr. Eid has one, and it's all across. They're trying to be all across the world. I don't know if they've made it across the world yet. I know they're in Canada. I know they're in the US. And you can get on there and just see if they have. So Dr. Eid's name is spelled, it's Georgia Eid, Ede. If you go to her website, and I believe that is her name, the website, but if you look up Dr. Georgia Eid, you'll find her and just see, like, are there a keto friendly doctor in your neighborhood that you can make a consultation with and figure this out? So yeah, you said, let's see, red meat. Okay, so you have trouble, you're eating sardines and salmon. The red meat causes my glucose to go higher and higher. My body is used to a higher set point for the glucose. Yeah, our body works towards getting us back to the healthy place. So even that, John, like, I don't know, you haven't really mentioned whether or not you're eating any, if you're eating any spices on your foods. So I'd really be curious to know if you are, because again, that could help us to understand what's happening there. But at this moment, I'm just encouraging you that those are the question marks that come to me right away. Fast food, fried, crunchy cravings caused by seed oils and hidden sugar in preparation is so addictive. I don't eat burger patties out, but they're not fried. I do eat burger patties out, but they are not fried in seed oils. Karen Wade, thank you for sharing that. I just want to, I'm always going to encourage people to think about it. Even when you go to the fast food restaurants where they grill their burgers, they spray the burgers. Oh, sorry. They spray the grills with seed oils so that the burgers don't stick to the grills. So I'm just pointing it out because I think a lot of people don't know that. Most fast food restaurants, you're going to get some level of seed oils in your food. It's just the way our world works today. Some people manage that better and it's not a huge deal. Other people have a hard time managing it. Jason Fung says to take an insulin Jason's Fung says take on insulin is like putting gas on the fire. Yeah, this is part of the problem. This is why I'm saying to you, like, I really wish you would reach out to a doctor in the space who can help you basically understand better why your body's reacting the way it's reacting, and then take good action. Because maybe what you want to do is change what you're eating slightly, but in what direction? That's what I don't know, right? Like, again, most of the doctors in the space are saying that red meat is actually the healthiest thing we could be eating. I'm even thinking about Michaela Peterson and her family. And for each of them, it was a red meat that helped them to get certain things under control. So I just find it really interesting that it's the red meat that's you're having a problem with. Um, and you gave me another update. Hold on. It's the gluconeogenesis that's doing me in? Maybe. This is the thing. Like, I really feel like we need to be a little bit more careful about saying specifically we know what's happening until we know for sure we know what's happening, because my liver is like a garage door that's stuck open. It's not hearing the insulin response to shut off the production of glucose. See, what that makes me afraid of is, would that be a type 1 diabetes beginning of something? Right? So, like, this is where I feel like it really is important for you to talk to somebody who fully understands this stuff and can guide you in a good direction, right? Um, because even at that, like, it's producing glucose towards what end? Like, your body knows what level of glucose is supposed to be in the blood. So it's acting against itself. To me, that's always a huge red flag that there's probably something else happening. Do sardines in water. Okay, that's good. 140 grams of protein, 120 grams of fat, 0 carbs. 140 grams of protein. So that's what you're saying. Your lean body mass is supposed to be 140 pounds. Just clarifying that. And you're getting all of that mostly. So, by the way, John, you're doing it in water, which means you are getting those microplastics. And please do not underestimate the importance of hormone balance. Dr. Eid talked about how important this is. And the hard thing is that for some people, a lack of hormone balance will lead to mental health issues. You'll be depressed, anxious, have schizophrenia, all kinds of, right? But then for other people, the same hormone imbalance will cause weight gain or some other, like, so it's not always, and will cause other hormones to be out of balance. Insulin is a hormone. So it's so important for us to understand that our hormone balance is critical. Dr. Fung, who you seem to have a lot of information related to him. So Dr. Fung has pointed out multiple different times that hormones are the instructions for our body telling it what to do. So I really need you to pay really close attention to the fact that even though you're eating sardines, which are healthy, if you're eating them packed in water, that's a problem. Like, anything in a tin is a problem. There's plastic there. And even if you buy things in a bottle, we need to understand that that metal cap that they put on top is tin, and therefore that's plastic between the bottle and the water, or that's in the container. All of that stuff is not good for us because those microplastics are getting in there. So I really am encouraging you, John, the more that you're helping me to see, the more that, and you said 0 spices, thank you for giving me that information. I'm really worried about those microplastics. That's the other thing that I would go to. Dr. Bickman and Roger Unger often talk about the play of glucagon in the gluconeogenesis process. Yep. Yes, I've heard them talk about that a little bit. And I definitely know that. So it's, again, it's interesting because they talk about glucagon, but then you have Dr. Fung talking about the fact that your body isn't going to just randomly. So like it's the conversation is not about whether or not our body can do something, and it's not even about whether or not our body does something regularly. It's about whether or not our body is doing something in excess. And I feel like just because our body can do something doesn't mean that it does it in excess without a reason. And this is where I'm really saying to you, you need to talk to one of the doctors to figure out what are the potential things that you might be doing that could be impacting the way that your blood sugar is. And you're saying that you only eat hamburgers that are produced on this farm. So this farm, and we butcher ourselves. Okay, so you are the one making your own. So you do have a farm. Terrific. That's very interesting. Okay, so that's terrific. If that's what's going on, then that's even better. So John, I mean, like I said, you need to talk to a doctor, but I'm still concerned about the salmon, to be honest, because when we are ill, every little thing matters. Every little thing. Again, hello, thank you. I've heard beef is the best since cows digest grass well. All our goats and lamb also good options on carnivore. So my understanding is all meat sources are good options. So meat, fish, poultry, eggs, they're all good options. Obviously, each one has their different positives and different negatives. I think one of the things that Dr. Baker focuses on is that, how complete animal protein is. And I don't know if you guys ever watched the channel Nutrition with Judy, but one of the things that she talked about is that by just doing the simple varying which meat you choose, you can end up having really good nutrient balance without ever having to touch an organ meat, because chicken has a different composition of specific micronutrients than does beef, than does fish, and of course each kind of fish versus chicken versus duck versus, right? So like again, each animal has their own specific little nuances in terms of micronutrients, and of course beef, as Dr. Chafee loves to tell us, is the one that can really filter out the toxins the best because of the different chambers. So I would imagine then that goats and lambs, I think they are also ruminant animals. If I'm wrong, then that's wrong. But any ruminant animal will have a better ability to filter out toxins because they have those multiple stomachs, right? And so that would be ideal. Thanks for the info about seed oils used on fast food grills. You're welcome. I'm very happy to help. And it looks to me like we came to the end of our information. So, oh, no, there's one more. Nigel, ruminant animals, one stomach with 4 chambers. Kind of like how we have one heart with 4 chambers. Thank you for the correction, Nigel. That's interesting to know. Yep. Perfect. So, Wellness Warriors, I love these conversations that we have, and I'm very happy that we had a chance to talk today. I'll be here next week. I'll do another video on Monday at 11:20, like usual, another live stream, like usual. Don't forget, there's a video in the description that you want to watch next. It tells you what to do and how to choose between keto and carnivore. It's really good. And I will talk to you in the next video. Bye. Today's video is brought to you by My Keto Consultations. You know how to do keto, but you're having trouble just sticking with it? Book a consultation with me and we're going to get you back on track. The link is in the description.